Do you think that President Tinubu can be beaten in 2027?
Mr. Victor, with due respect to you, sir, if there are free, fair, and credible elections conducted in Nigeria before 12 o'clock on election day, the defeat of Tinubu and his APC minions will be announced. APC does not like me saying this statement. They will go to a comment section on social media and abuse it, but I am insisting and saying it. If the president is very confident in his popularity, do free and fair election. You have been de facto governor of Lagos for the more than 20 years or 26 years and counting. Influence, popularity should be influenced. If you are the leader, you are the Jagaban of Lagos. Do you know that in 2023, people were physically beaten out of polling units in Lagos for looking like a certain tribe? Who is afraid of what? Why is President Tinubu not committing to free and fair elections? The only hope and confidence is in a compromised judiciary and a compromised INEC. What happened? What were the numbers? President Tinubu is the only person who won presidency by losing all major voting blocks. He lost his home state of Lagos. He lost Kano. What happened in Rivers? Let us be honest to ourselves. We know what is... When people come out to boast and say this person cannot be beaten, it cannot be beaten through what? Through free and fair or through rigging. Let us make it clear. Let us make the statement to the end. He cannot lose. He cannot lose. Through what? Who they vote for him? Where are they? I beg you. Nigerians must put pressure on INEC. It is INEC that is the weapon fashioned against you. Leave all this talk of grandstanding and... Do free and fair election. Then we know who popular. Shebi, you stood for Abiola, you believe in the MKO mandate. It was about free and fair election now. So now that you even honored his wife and gave her title of CFR and all of... So meaning you believed in democracy. So why do you Democrats not believe in free and fair election? Or Nigeria is the only democracy that is not ruled by Democrats? This is mischief of the highest level. Once you see a group of leaders like that, the citizens must wake up and insist. Let us pick our leaders. 2027, mount your guard and protect your votes. Electoral revolution. Mr. Victor, it is simple. Nigeria, we have been living in self-deceit. We have been living a lie. We claim to be a democracy. This year we celebrated 26 years of uninterrupted democracy in our fourth republic, and we have just done 65 years of independence. The hallmark of every democracy are free, fair, credible, and peaceful elections. That is the foundation, because it is a social contract where the citizens chose their leaders, and when they are dissatisfied with their performance, they can vote them out. If you fail to fix elections, there is no point of accountability. So we go through a vicious circle where people just continue to lament about bad leadership. They rig themselves back into power. They complete their 8 years. They rig another person who will become even worse. So if truly we want to be a democracy, it must be through free, fair, credible, and peaceful elections. Because elections do not only bring government, they give legitimacy to governance. That is why it became very important that, look, INEC and the electoral process and the judiciary have become the weapon fashioned against Nigeria. We must put a spotlight on it. Since 1999, the current president is the only president who has not come out to talk about electoral reforms and free and fair election, even though he prides himself as being one of the persons who fought for the June 12 MKO Abiola mandate, which was all about free and fair elections. 32 years later, Nigeria cannot boast of conducting credible elections. Even the late President Yaradua admitted that the elections that brought himself and the then Vice President Jonathan, he said they were flawed. We needed to improve on them. Unfortunately, he passed. But President Jonathan took it a step further to sign the 2011 Electoral Act, conducted the elections that were seemingly free and fair that brought President Buhari. Then the destruction of INEC and the judicial system began. And that is where we are today. And if we fail to fix it, and they consolidate on what happened, the criminality we call elections of 2023, then we are done for as a country, because there is a template. The current ruling party has a pedigree. We have Lagos State to look at for the last 26 years. Nigerians must fix that system of accountability. Whoever that Nigerians chose, let it come as the mandate of the people. You cannot come through the window and claim to be sanitizing the house. No. The process of getting into power is more important than what you do with the power. That is why we are on this.
A lot of people have said that Nigerians have lost interest in INEC.
Yes.
INEC itself is also saying that Nigerians have not lost confidence in them. That is about the individuals, it's not about INEC. How do you react to that?
I think it is unfortunate, because INEC should, the leadership of INEC should bury their heads in shame. The professor of INEC, the INEC chairman currently, his tenure will soon be finishing. In a normal society where there is a rule of law, the INEC chairman should be on a subject of investigation. and I say it with unequivocally, if you collect 300 and something billion to carry out one particular project, you said electronic technology will be the game changer. You needed about 150 billion and all of the position papers you did. Sir, on the day of delivering, you said the Senate result could pass through the server, but the presidential could not because there was a glitch. Sir, do we know what caused the glitch? Has INEC told us why we should not have further glitches moving forward? The politicians, have they come out to say, in the minimum, let us know why taxpayer money should be wasted in such a misadventure, and on the day of delivery it fails? Until date, there is no conversation about electronic tech. In fact, the 2023 election has not even been reviewed by this current INEC chairman who is about to go. And when you say the people do not trust the process, INEC data for 2023, total number of registered voters was about 93 million. Collected PVCs were about 87 million according to INEC. The total number of persons who voted in that election were less than 28 million people. Sir, why do more than 50 million people take the pain of registering, collecting PVC and are not interested? It's simple. Nigerians do not trust those processes or those activities we call elections. In the words of one of the African Union observation team that came in 2023, they say what we came to do was not election monitoring, it was a crime watch. Imagine leadership that comes from a process of criminality. How does the country move forward? And INEC is telling people that it's not about. So for us now, it is to plug the loopholes. If the judiciary had done what they needed to do, we will not be where we are. But unfortunately, the judiciary have decided to be a willing tool in the hands of the politicians. So we need to plug every loophole and ensure that there is less human interference no matter who is running the agency, and then mobilize to protect your vote. But I personally believe that what will change elections in Nigeria is an electoral revolution. I mean, it has to become a national conversation. The issues of election in Nigeria must be raised to the level of a national crisis, because failure to do so will just allow us to be at the mercies of the politicians in government and persons who they install there. The act is clear, the guidelines for INEC are clear about how to appoint persons, but of course it's solely the prerogative of the president. Persons are saying that, oh, you may need to now amend the law so that it is not just the sole responsibility of the president, who will also be a participant or a contestant picking the umpire. But then again, to what extent can we really control the interference of people? Even those who may not be card-carrying members, by the time they get in there, how do you control their own activities? That was why it became important that, can technology insulate the process from human interference? And even when you raise all of these issues and say this person should not be a national commissioner, the person is a card-carrying member, what judiciary are you going to take the case to, sir? So Nigerians must wake up, because even now, the electoral reform, there is no political will from this 10th assembly to... If you pass electoral reform and do free and fair election, you are almost saying that 90% of the current politicians should retire and go out of office. So it will take a critical mass of Nigerians to wake up and insist that the right thing should be done, or else we continue in these irregularities.
If you are to ask to point one or two steps you think should be taken to achieve these electoral reforms, what will it be?
Occupy National Assembly. Nigerians must mobilize civil society, everybody who means well for Nigeria. As the Senate resumes and begins considerations, they will begin a public hearing and all of those calisthenics about trying to do this, because of course politicians will be politicians. If they give you reform A, they open a loophole by B, because you know you cannot have it all together. So everybody must, in Nigeria they will say men must mount. Nigerians must put maximum civic pressure to implement or express your right to peaceful assembly. Put the pressure you need, and then begin to look at the critical part of what part of the Constitution or the Electoral Act and the INEC guidelines, whatever that needs to be amended should be amended. And then of course there is the part of almost every case, every political contest in Nigeria ends up in the judiciary. Should the courts be choosing leaders for the people in a democracy? That is, we have shortchanged the will of the people. We can as well decide that the court should tell us who should be governors and senators. Let everyone go to bed. We have to fix this broken system, and it will take Nigerians waking up and realizing that our lives depend on the quality of elections and leaders we produce.
You talked about the judiciary. How would you assess the judiciary? Looking at 2023 elections going forward, how would you assess them?
In all honesty, I have said it severally that I do not believe Nigeria has a judiciary. The judiciary is an independent arm of a democratic government that is capable of dispensing justice for the state and not for statesmen. What Nigerian judiciary has proven to be is the legal department of any political party in power, where politicians and strongmen control whatever. You can see what is going on, where people become SAN through whatever means that they be. Spouses of politicians just move from high court to the appellate court, then to the Supreme Court. Look at the case of Rivers State, for example. The president, that is a textbook definition of where Nigeria's democracy is. And a president in a democracy woke up and decided to suspend a legitimately elected governor. I'm not talking whether it is right or wrong, but before even the Senate that should ratified, he had already sworn in a sole administrator. The National Assembly that should ratify with 2/3 majority decided to use a voice vote. Now, the voice vote was used to uphold the illegality that was done by the executive. PDP governors approached the court, and for 6 months, the Supreme Court was unable to entertain a suit to determine the legality of a process until that 6 months expired and the governor came back in a so-called peace deal. So if you can see the tragedy of the three arms of government, you should know that Nigeria is in dire strait. Nigeria is in serious trouble. The judiciary that should be called the last hope of the common man has become the last hope of the uncommon man. When you see politicians in Nigeria today, we almost have a minister for the judiciary who is building houses for them, increasing their allowances and pampering the judges. A person who at the end of an electoral cycle will also be a defendant in their court. And we don't see it as clash of interest. We don't see it as administrative abnormalities. Everybody just goes in that way. So what is the hope of the Nigerian if we have that kind of judiciary? We are in serious trouble and we must fix it.